All right. Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Talk the Talk with Tribe Title. Today's guest is Dean Tengel of Faith-Based Real Estate. Thanks for coming on today, Dean.
Pleasure to be here.
So let's get right into it. So now you're doing something different. This is a new venture for you, correct?
Yes. Yep. As of June, I switched over to a broker, GTM Realty.
Okay.
And then my DBA is Faith-Based Real Estate, as well as Dean Tengel Real Estate. I've got them both registered, same logo, and
awesome
consistency with that.
Yeah, no doubt. So was that a big transition for you, or was it pretty seamless as far as just switching over?
Very seamless. I'm very comfortable and independent.
Yeah.
So for me to make the change, I've been doing all my own processing and work and everything anyway. So it was a simple switch for me.
Okay, cool. So you were used to doing all of it anyway. You did all the back end work yourself usually.
Yeah, typically. We've had transaction coordinators and those that helped out, but I'm a bit of a control freak, so I was always on top of it. Everything. I knew how to do it, so it was easier just to switch over. I
always notice too, there's a lot of people I talk to that do a lot of the back end stuff themselves, even when there is a transaction coordinator present. And I always think it's cool, like at least, I think it's important that you at least know how to do it.
Exactly.
Because if you ever make a change and you're used to that, hand being held, and then all of a sudden you're on your own, that's a big switch.
Right. That was always important to me to turn over a complete package.
Yeah.
And that way when I switched to doing it on my own, I had the package complete and ready to go anyway. So.
And you can probably sleep at night because you know nobody else's hands are in the pot.
Exactly right.
That's cool. So now do you think is it just going to be you individually, or do you think you'll develop a team at some point?
At this point, I don't intend to develop a team. I like to just focus on servicing the people on my own.
Yeah.
I've been most of my career in a management role or leadership role, and at this point, it's kind of nice to just sit back and take care of myself. Not sit back, but worry about what I'm doing and not what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough when you're trying to rein in other people, and now it's just you. You got to worry about managing yourself.
Exactly.
Very cool. And now it's you and your wife. Your wife doesn't work in real estate, correct?
Correct. She's an accountant.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's got to help when it comes to doing the books.
Yeah, she's not a tax accountant, but it's definitely a resource for me.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. And now does she do the accounting? Like, can she help you out with any questions that you have as far as like real estate, like your clients, what their tax implications are or anything like that?
She's in a different part of the accounting process.
Gotcha.
She works for a private family and handles all of their investment tracking and books and things like that. So
awesome. And now, so the switch for you, I know you're picking up steam again now, right? You said you have 3 active listings right now?
Yeah. September was a little typical seasonal slowdown. And then once October hit, I took 3 brand new listings in downtown Howell. And 2 of them sold the first 3 days. Awesome. It almost felt like it was back to April, May timeframe again because things have been sitting. But in downtown Howell, it's still pretty hot. Yeah.
So that's what it seems like. It seems like location plays a big role. And I know now there's some houses that sit 30, 40 days.
Right.
But yeah, it seems like if you have that hot location, it's still such a limited market there that if something comes up, there's probably 20 people looking at it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. But about setting the expectation too, I tell everybody now it's 30 to 60 days, not, Friday night pending.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely been a shift.
Yeah. Is that a big part of your business plan as far as like setting those, like you said, setting the expectation up front? That's
Absolutely.
Obviously a huge part of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's much easier to set a long-term expectation and beat that time frame, exceed that versus, coming back 30 or 60 days later and going, well, I thought it was going to sell a couple weeks ago, but here we are,
Yeah, price drops and all that stuff. Yeah, it's a bad conversation to have.
Exactly. So if the expectation is a little bit longer process, and when you finish it sooner, they're happy.
Yeah. What have you been noticing as far as prices, like in an area like that where it is still a hot market? Have you noticed prices down from last year, or are you pretty much staying right around the same at what you would guess it would be worth?
Yeah, and again, the 2 that sold right away in downtown Howell went well over list price.
Oh, really?
I did the market analysis on them and based on average price per foot and what was selling down there. One of them was actually a purchase from last December, and it's up, at least 12% from where he bought it last year. So
that's nice.
Again, now the appreciation is more leveled off. We're not seeing it continually increase. In a hockey 16%, stick curve, right? Exactly,
which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, but it's and that little niche downtown Howell, it's continuing to climb.
Yeah, and I noticed too when I talk to people, they say that even with interest rates being the way they are and what's going on, it's like some people still have to move. Like obviously that was a must move type of thing, right? If they were only there for 12 months.
Exactly. Yeah, they're relocating out of state. In fact, all 3 of the properties that I have on the market right now are people relocating to warmer climates.
Oh, wow.
So
are they getting to the age of retirement or just relocating, find a new job?
2 of them are younger. One's going back to school.
Okay.
Another one's starting, his kids are grown and they're moving down. The others are, retired and just relax and enjoy that.
That's cool. So now how are you getting these leads? Is this from your Sphere or are you doing any marketing?
Sphere, primarily. One of them, again, was the house that I sold him last year. And then one of the neighbors, they had talked and liked how I was representing him. So the neighbor asked me to sell his house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then same with the other one that was a little farther out, I sold the house across the street.
Okay.
And they'd come to one of my open houses, and when it was time for them to sell, they called me up.
So that's got to be, that's probably the best pat on the back you can get as a realtor when you get somebody that's a repeat client or a referral, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's the most cost effective as well. You're not spending money on marketing just by being yourself.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah, most of my lead generation is, through social media or Sphere.
Yeah.
Referrals.
Do you do a lot of social media stuff?
I try to post something on Facebook every day at least.
Yeah.
Do some things on LinkedIn as well. Not big on Instagram. Of course, my kids are telling me I need to get on LinkedIn and Snapchat, but that's not my
TikTok.
venue. Right? Yeah. Just the videos for me, not
right.
Not super comfortable with that. So
yeah, same. I know we're close in age, and that's that tough thing. Like social media to me is so new. Even though it's been around for a long time, but it's so new and it's tough to kind of think of it as a marketing tool. But it really just is where it is right now.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny. I always tell people this business is a never ending cycle of shameless self-promotion, which I'm not comfortable with, but you learn to adapt. And it's always got to have yourself out there.
Yeah. And you've been in the business now for quite a while, right? Since 2003?
Yeah. Licensed in 2003. I've been investing in real estate actually since I got out of college.
Oh, wow.
I bought my first rental property when I was 22. And, so I've done flips and some rentals all throughout that process. And then, did it kind of a sideline in 2003. And then 2 years ago, I went full time.
Okay. Awesome. So you were doing it part-time basically up until a couple of years ago.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And now as far as investing, is that something you still do? Do you have a portfolio of rentals?
I don't anymore. I had many in 2008.
Oh, yeah.
So until I can start paying cash for all of them again.
Right.
Beyond that for a little bit, but
yeah, that was a tough swing.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was a lot of people got hurt by that, and I was one of them. But,
yeah, we actually had a renter in our house in Arizona that was they had no problem paying because they had plenty of income, but that was the same thing. They had gotten crushed in 2008. They were buying rental properties in Arizona. And they were buying as many as they could get because the houses were appreciating at such a rapid value. And then when everything fell apart, I think they lost like 23 houses or something. It was crazy.
I didn't have quite that many, but I had 4 of them that went vacant all at the same time. And I carried them for about a year. And I was like, well, this is it. We got to get rid of these things.
Right. Which is tough too. That's the part I never really understood is because of the vacancies. It's like, well, 2008 happened. To me, I thought rentals would have been hot because these people are getting displaced. They need somewhere to go.
Yeah, but most of them weren't working and couldn't pay the rent either. So I don't know where those people went, but
although I guess Michigan's much different. Like Arizona, it seemed like a lot of them. Well, same thing, I guess, because most of those people were in some sort of a construction trade because construction was booming out there. I know it was like Arizona and Las Vegas were a couple of the hardest hit because everything revolved around new building.
Right.
Scary time. So now being through that market, what do you see kind of for the future right now? I know it's kind of shaky as far as, skepticism and things like that.
Yeah, I think we've got checks and balances in place now. We'll not see another 2008 barring something catastrophic.
Right.
People talk about that, the bubble's going to bust and prices are going to crash. Well, we're not where we should be. We are where we should be right now.
Right.
If it was a linear appreciation over the last, 12 years, it just feels so much inflated because it was the last couple of years increased so rapidly, but we're really not out of line with where we should be.
Right.
So I think we're going to see appreciation slow down, it level off, maybe dip a little bit, but we don't anticipate any major crash coming.
Yeah, and that's the big thing too. It seems like you just said, the downtown Howell, you still had multiple offers over list price. So there's still that shortage of inventory, which is never going to change or not going to change overnight.
Exactly. The demand still outweighs supply significantly, and new construction is a big factor in that. They say it's going to be roughly 4 more years before we have a balance between the new housing starts and the demand. So, it'll continue to go up. And with the interest rates are high right now, but it's either one of two things: you buy now and it's at a good time if they keep going up, or they go down and you refinance.
Right.
But there's really no advantage to waiting.
Zero.
Exactly. So it's still a good time. The difficulty is, of course, your payment's 50% higher than it was.
Right.
A $1,200 payment last year is an $1,800 payment this year. So it changes what you can afford. But again, it doesn't pay to wait because things are still going to increase in price.
Yeah,
again,
I agree.
Not so rapidly.
Your rent's going to go up, which it already has, if you can even find a place to rent. And then, like you said, if you get now, let's say you get it at a 7, you get it at a 7 now, and it continues to go up. Well, now you're a genius,
right?
Or you get it now at a 7 and rates go down, then you refinance.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I've never understood the waiting, but I was talking to somebody last week about it, and it's like people are still very, very much followers. So it's like everybody backs out of the market, and then it's a great time to buy.
Yeah.
But everybody's like, oh, everybody else backed out. Why? What do they know that I don't? And instead of just following that instinct, like, well, no, there's not competition now, or at least not as much. Like, now is a good time to take advantage of it.
Yeah, you're not fighting against 20 other buyers at every property that you look at.
Right.
You may have 2 or 3, and these last 2 I had multiple offers on, but that's been rare the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. So now knowing that, are you going to try to like fine tune that and really go after that market, knowing that it is still such a hot market?
Absolutely. Yeah. I knew downtown Howell was popular, but I didn't realize the demand was as heavy as it still is.
Yeah.
That they're selling it.
Right. I wouldn't have guessed that either. Multiple offers and over ask is still. That's a big accomplishment in this market.
Yeah. Both these houses were completely remodeled and move-in ready, so that helped. But
yeah, for sure. I've noticed, especially without disclosing too much, what were the people that bought them? Were they younger, first-time buyers?
In both cases.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've noticed young first-time buyers, for some reason, have no interest in getting their hands dirty.
Right. Yes, I'm seeing that as well. And one of the couples, it's a young family. They've got 2 young kids, so that that you get your hands full with the kids, right? Versus remodeling projects and trying to
it's tough.
rehab a house. But
I did the house we live in now, we've been there 5 years, but we did a full renovation, gutted it, lived with the in-laws in their basement for 6 months, and then continued to work on it until 6 months ago. And that was with 3 kids in the house, and that's tough. So I get their hesitation, but the young, I shouldn't say single, but young with no children that won't buy a fixer-upper still fascinates me. I'm like, especially with YouTube and everything else, like you can literally learn how to do anything by watching YouTube.
Absolutely. It's amazing.
Yeah. And then you have that instant equity there. So.
Right. Yeah. My first 3 houses we did that were just total rehabs.
Yeah. And it's fun.
It is fun.
Get the finished product is what you wanted.
You learn a lot, and you're comfortable. There's nothing in a house that I couldn't fix.
Exactly. You know where everything is because you've been through every inch of it.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's, I guess, definitely a difference in generations.
Yeah, true. But it's gratifying, though, and people don't really realize it until you dig in. People are afraid of what they don't know. But once you get started on it, it's not that complicated.
Yeah. And there's still obviously things I won't, like, I won't do a roof. You know? I know my limitations, but everything else is a blast.
Agreed.
But with kids, it's tough to find the balance because you can't leave a project. You can't start something and leave it. You have to clean everything up every time, which slows you down a ton.
Absolutely.
So now with that market there, downtown Howell, do you think there's any other markets in the area that are similar as far as, the demand?
I think downtown Brighton's still hot. Anywhere you can walk into town and walk to the restaurants and bars and things like that is still going to be a high demand.
Yeah.
The price point in Howell is a little bit less than it is in Brighton, which I think that makes it more desirable for some people just getting started.
Yeah. And it's a very cool place. It's very up and coming. I know there's a lot of really good restaurants. The downtown's awesome.
It is. Yeah. And it feels more historic.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Brighton's kind of new.
Right.
Whereas Howell, I'd never really been there. And then, I was going somewhere probably a few months ago, and I ended up kind of veering off that main road, and I got back in those little, I don't know if you'd call them subs because they weren't subs back then, but back in those neighborhoods, and some of the houses back there are so cool. Very
cool. Yeah. A lot of Victorian style classic homes.
And solid brick 2 stories. I'm like, you don't see that anymore.
It's really, it's a neat area. My wife loves it. I still struggle because I grew up in Brighton, spent my whole life here.
Right.
Went to school in Brighton. So, Howell and Brighton were always the arch rivals, right? So I still have a difficult time, warming up to Howell, and it's got to be Brighton. But, given the choice, my wife would always pick Howell for going out and entertaining.
Is she from Howell, or
she's actually from more the east side?
Okay. So very cool. Where did you guys meet?
At college at Western Michigan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, our sophomore year.
Awesome.
Yeah, about 34 years, I think now.
Okay, cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a long time, especially nowadays.
Right. You're definitely more the exception than the rule. So.
Yeah, very cool. And you guys have, how many kids? You have 2 kids, right?
3. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, my 2 of them are already done with school, and my youngest is finishing up her last year of nursing school at Michigan State.
Awesome. And then one of them just became a homeowner, correct?
Correct. Yep. He bought his first house down in December. In Ypsilanti.
Awesome.
Yep. And it's working out well for him. He's a little slow on the the rehab, but there's the nice thing about that house. There's lots of opportunity for him to make some of those improvements, and I'm happy to help.
Yeah, that's cool. So. And it seems like he probably bought it at a good time. I mean, what did he buy, like close to 6 months, a year ago?
Yeah, it was last December.
Okay.
Yep, almost a year ago.
Yeah, so he's probably already got equity in it without doing anything.
Absolutely, and he locked in at a good rate, so he's historically low.
Right. That's a big difference, especially if he sees now his friends buy the same exact house. The difference in payments got to be huge.
50% more, right? So and that unfortunately bumped a lot of his peers out of the market,
right?
At least for a little while.
Yeah. And now I read something too that was really interesting to me that I guess I didn't put it together, but it was very obvious about the lack of homes going on the market. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, other than in 08 where there is this weird market, most people now are locked at such a low rate that it's a very hard idea to part ways with that, knowing that they're going to sell this home that was locked at, let's say, a 2.5.
Right.
And now they're going to go into a house at a 7.
That's a challenge. Yeah. That's.
So, I mean, how do you kind of combat that as far as trying to get listings?
Yeah. The biggest challenge, again, is people aren't moving without a good reason right now.
Yeah.
If they're going to relocate or, downsizing, then it balances out.
Right.
But for someone that's just considering a change of scenery, it may be more beneficial for them to hang on right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good that you say that, because most people, especially realtors, be like, well, no, just sell it. It's a great time. But right. So you'll actually have the consultation and be like, if this is what the reason you're looking to move doesn't make sense for you right now.
Right.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, that's what somebody wants, and that's what's going to give them the trust to where then when they are ready, they're going to call you back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good.
But again, if you're dead set on moving, you have a good reason for it. You need to do it. But
right.
It's,
Yeah. Now, as far as the marketing, is there anything you're trying to do differently given the market that we're in?
Again, it's just about service and expectation. Really, the only difference is just setting the expectation.
Yeah.
When you have that opportunity to get in front of people and talk about it.
Yeah.
Your motivation's got to be about service, not just
money,
racking up listings and making money.
Right.
It is, and I love it right now too, because again, my son bought his first house, and his peers are now all starting to get into the market.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be in a position where I can truly be a consultant to those guys. And
you care about them, so it's
exactly.
going to make a difference.
Right.
That's awesome.
And it's nice to be in a position. I'm not out where I have to go out and do 10 houses a month.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
At a comfortable pace where I can focus on 1 or 2.
Right. Yeah. You don't need that deal to pay the bills.
Yeah. So it's. And it helps me be a better consultant, I think, that way, too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you gain the confidence from doing it a long time.
Right.
And B, like you said, you don't need the money, so you're not that desperate person just trying to get a listing for any reason whatsoever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I still enjoy it. And I still love getting out and touring houses. And I tell people all the time, let's go look at it, even if it's just for fun. It's not yours, but it's a great comparison. Let's get out and see what this one looks like compared to the one that you know is your dream home.
Right.
And look at what's good, what's bad, and analyze those things. And
yeah, that's the thing I notice in common with a lot of the realtors I talk to that are successful is the fact that they still love it. It's still fun.
Absolutely.
And that's cool. I mean, most jobs are not.
Right. Yeah.
So that makes a huge difference when you wake up in the morning and you're excited to go do what you're doing.
I do. It's enjoyable.
Now, you're also very involved in the community, right?
True. Yep. So again, I've lived here for over 50 years now.
Yeah.
Been in this area, and I served on the Genoa Township Planning and Zoning Commissions for about 18 years.
Okay.
I'm not, the last couple years, I haven't, I had to stop doing that when I was traveling for a different position. You know, my in-between real estate, when I was a regional sales manager, I was gone, every day of the week and just I couldn't sustain it. But now I'm looking to get back involved in that. But the Planning Commission, I was actually certified on the Brighton Fire Department, went through that whole training and got certified as an EMR, emergency medical responder, and a firefighter 1 and 2. But again, because of travel, I had to stop doing that.
Right.
But, it was nice to be involved in that aspect as well.
Yeah, for sure.
In the community.
I actually did similar for White Lake Fire Department.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, same thing. I did all that, loved it, but then I got a job where I traveled, 2 weeks on the road at a time, and I just wasn't able to fulfill the time requirement. But it was really cool.
Loved it. And what a great skill set you developed doing that. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and the trainings are fun. I mean, it's just, it's kind of cool. It's like you're a big kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, play with all the toys.
Right.
But
that's really cool. So now you want to get back involved in the community, obviously. And now all your kids grew up here as well, right?
True. Yep. My oldest actually, where we live in Genoa Township, we're right on the border of Brighton schools and Howell schools.
Okay.
Brighton was much closer for everything, even all the schools.
Yeah.
With the exception of 3 fires. But we were driving the kids 20 minutes to the Howell events, and Brighton's 5 minutes away. So anyway, my oldest son continued on through Howell schools and graduated from Howell High School, but my younger 2 ended up switching over to Brighton when they were in middle school. And about half of our neighborhood was going to Brighton anyway, so we had carpooling and everything that worked out really well.
Through that, I mean, you probably built a ton of relationships just through school and your kids friends, parents, and things like that.
Yeah, through sports and hockey especially was the one that we really built those bonds. And I don't know if it's because you're inside a captive audience, in the hockey arenas, you're in the stands with people, and that was a lot of long-term relationships from the hockey and the kids' sports.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you find a lot of those come back to you as far as clients?
Yep. Yeah, it's been a great resource. It's been an excellent opportunity to help some of those folks.
Yeah, and then like you said, now your children's friends are going to become of the buying age.
Exactly.
Which it's tough because maybe one of them will get into real estate. But
yeah, that's okay. You know what? I'm happy to mentor if so.
Yeah, there you go.
In fact, my son was even talking about.
Oh, really?
Doing that as well. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to me the ones that do get started really early, because to get into a field like that where you don't have all the pressures of, you don't have a family, you don't have these bills, that you constantly have to pay, because it does take a long time to ramp it up.
Absolutely.
But what a cool thing when you see somebody that started in their 20s and then the success they can have by the time they're in their 30s is incredible.
When you build that up over a 10 or 20 year period like that.
Yeah.
Some of my friends 30. But yeah, that's the toughest. The difficulty is getting started and being able to live without having much of an income for the first couple of years.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be cool for him to actually see you do it and see the success you've had, and then it kind of steers him in. Whereas most people, like me, I didn't look at real estate till I was 40, and I'm like, well, I can't do this with 3 kids at home and bills to pay. But yeah, it's always fascinating to me to watch that change, and they learn a ton.
Absolutely.
So now, being in real estate, I'm surprised you've been in the same house for quite a while, haven't you?
20 years. We built it in 2002.
Okay.
So exactly 20 years this year.
Yeah, that's a commitment, because it seems like real estate to me would be like selling cars. If I'm constantly in and out of the new cars, I'm going to always find something I want.
Right. Now, actually, we absolutely love where we live.
Yeah.
It's the perfect house that we can even retire in. It's 1.5 stories, so all of our main floor primary suite, and so if we get too old to go up and down the stairs, and we can just basically shut off the second floor. I've got all the zoned HVAC equipment and things like that, so it's very efficient. Cool. And but we just love the location over there by Crooked Lake.
Okay, and it's probably, that's where your kids were raised for the most part, right? Yeah, that's got to be a big attachment at that point as well.
Yeah, and it's a great place for them to be able to come home and stay. And
So where does your daughter go to school?
She's at Michigan State.
Oh, okay, nice.
Her 4th year there, and my middle son actually is just graduating this month from Western Michigan in the commercial aviation program. So he's going to be a pilot. So
that's awesome.
His objective, one of the big airlines.
Yeah. So now I've always, that's kind of a cool thing to me too. So you go to school, obviously, to become a commercial pilot. Do they do a ton of flying?
Oh yeah. Even beginning, the freshman year, he started in just before high school working on his private pilot license. But that curriculum takes you all the way through, and they're getting hours every week.
Yeah. And do they actually go up and fly commercial jets for the training?
Some of the big ones is simulation.
Okay.
Right. And then once they hit a certain amount of hours, then they can go out and fly the bigger planes.
Okay. Yeah,
most of that training's on simulation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess especially with the cost of fuel, I can't even imagine what it would cost to take a student up just to fly a gigantic empty airplane.
Yeah. It'd be expensive.
Yeah. So. That's cool. Now, do they do a lot of recruiting for airlines out of those schools?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
There's 3 or 4 programs in the country that are, at the top of the scale for that, and Western's in the top, 3 or 4 typically.
Nice.
So it's good. Yeah, it's a great program.
It's probably a good place to learn also because we have such a varying weather.
Yes.
Like if you learn in Arizona, what do you you're used to seeing clear blue skies.
Right.
Here you're probably going to get a lot more taste of different weather situations.
Although I will say, I know he's had a lot of flights canceled, into the ceiling's too low or just inclement weather. They haven't been able to fly, but
right. That's cool. Have you ever been up with them?
Yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. And it's especially, when you hear a kid talking to the air traffic control and making the announcements coming in and looking for a runway to land on and things like that. It's like, wow, this is, he's legit, right?
It's got to be wild too. It probably, you go back to the time when you were riding shotgun when he was getting his learner's permit to drive and you're probably terrified. And now you're like, man, this kid's taking me up in an airplane
right
now.
Well, less things to hit up there. So that's a little
safer. Yeah. You don't have to parallel park an airplane. That's cool. So now this switch to the new company, is that just more of a for you? Is that where you want to be as far as like you said, your time at home is very important, and now you work completely from home.
Yeah, part of it too. Some of those bigger brokerages are a great resource for people starting off or someone that wants to have a team and need a lot of or want a lot of extra training and resources. They're fantastic for that. I've got enough experience that I'm comfortable doing everything on my own, and I'll certainly continue with my continuing education. You're never too old to stop learning, but didn't really need all the resources that was offered there. And I was able to partner up with I think I'd mentioned the broker that got me started in the business back in 2003. And he's been doing it since he graduated college, and it's just a fantastic resource for me. So I've got that direct channel one-on-one with the broker. So it's almost a better resource for me being in that smaller environment, and then I don't need all the extra resources that you're paying for. So it's a little more streamlined and efficient. And get things done quicker, I think, between the two of us, and respond better to the clients in some cases. So it's just a good fit. It's
that's great.
The natural progression for me.
Right. And it's funny too that you said that's where you actually started out.
Yes. Yeah. So that was 20 years ago, almost exactly. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's been a great, friendship and partnership over the years. And now it's kind of a win-win for us both.
Yeah, for sure. Is that a big group? Is there a lot of agents?
It's just the two of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So by design.
Yeah.
Keep
that is cool then. So that is, you just basically have direct communication.
Absolutely.
And then does he still do a lot of business? Or
he does.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a guy that was, went through Brighton schools. I think his family moved out here actually in the late 60s.
Okay.
So it's been around even longer than I have in Brighton. And somebody that just, has been somebody I look up to. And he was actually the Genoa Township supervisor.
Oh, okay.
I think when we first met. So he's been very involved in the community and
that's
well.
great. So it's kind of a friendship / mentorship.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. And now, as far as I guess your goals, where do you see yourself in, let's say, 5 years? Do you want to still be in the area? Do you see yourself retiring ever?
Say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And what I want is flexibility. I think I'm going to spend a good portion of my time down in the warmer climate in the winters. So that's actually my next objective is I'm going to get licensed down in Florida.
Okay.
Try to do some work down there as well, and then go back and forth. But spend probably 70% of my time here and the other 30 down in Florida.
That's cool. And now your wife, does she have to work in an office, or she have a lot of flexibility as well?
She works in Southfield and goes in 3 days a week.
Okay.
Alternating 3-2s. So, but she works from home, and they're pretty accommodating too, where we can take some extended periods and go down.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Possibly do like a VRBO down there or something too.
Right. Yeah.
There you go.
That's the idea ultimately, but
yeah, very cool. So now the son that's thinking about getting into real estate, is it something he wants to do as just kind of like a sideline thing?
For the time being,
Yeah.
he wants to get engaged, and he's seen what I'm doing, and really, once he gets settled in his career, he's got a degree from Michigan State in supply chain management. So I think he wants to focus on, progressing through that, but also start off with the real estate and maybe at some point turn that into a career.
I'd imagine supply chain's got to be pretty hot right now
Absolutely.
with all the issues and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of room to grow there.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for him as well.
Yeah. I always think it'd be cool, though, just that he can see you doing it. He's got somebody he can go to, he can ask questions. Because I always think, man, if somebody would have told me when I was younger, just to start getting into real estate investing even, to be licensed to be able to buy my own stuff and then have rentals and things like that. I mean, what a difference that trajectory could make in 20 years.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't even realize you can go out and buy a rental house. You know, and my kids have actually grown up with it and helped me do a lot of the work on the homes. And, been my runners for supplies and things like that. So they're very acclimated to that. So it should be a good resource for them as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. As far as if anybody wants to get a hold of you to look at houses, talk real estate, talk about investing, how do they go about getting a hold of you?
Best way to reach me is call or text on my cell phone at 517-404-0380. My email address is deant@deantengelrealestate.com. Simple to remember. Yeah. Or my website is deantengelrealestate.com.
Okay. Very simple.
Yes, very.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Dean. I wish you the best of luck. It was nice talking to you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Got it.